Last week we started with 12. Now we are down to the Elite Eight. It is known commonly as the most exciting weekend of the NFL playoffs. This weekend, it will be the NFL divisional playoffs. And then on Monday night, only two remain. The college football playoff national championship game. The number 3 Clemson Tigers, the number 1 LSU Tigers. Will we have a back-to-back winner, or are we going to crown a new champion? All this and more, we find it all out tonight, right here, on this special edition of Strictly Sports Football Thursday. Hello, friends, and welcome to this very special Strictly Sports Football Thursday. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we will hopefully have him back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. But what a weekend we had in Wildcard Weekend last weekend. My goodness. I mean, 3 huge upsets went down. Well, 2 huge upsets. And 1 no surprise. And a little iffy on the other, but still, it was an amazing one. I would have to say was probably the best wild card weekend I've ever seen. I mean, think about it. This divisional round looks different than a lot of us, MF and I included, expected. Wild card weekend lived up to its title, starting with the 4th-seeded Houston Texans completing a 16-point comeback to oust the visiting 5th-seeded Buffalo Bills 22-19 in overtime. Saturday night rounded out with the 6th-seeded Tennessee Titans shockingly upsetting the 3rd-seeded New England Patriots 20-13 in Foxborough. For the first time since 2010, the Patriots will not be in the AFC Championship game. But who will? The NFC wildcard slate Sunday saw both home teams lose. The 6th-seeded Minnesota Vikings again served the 3rd-seeded New Orleans Saints heartbreak on a platter, 2 years removed from the Minneapolis Miracle. The Vikings defeated the Saints 26-20 in overtime to capture their first road playoff win since 2004. And then the weekend was capped by the number 5 Seattle Seahawks outlasting the number 4 Philadelphia Eagles 17-9. The Eagles lost Carson Wentz to a head injury in the first quarter when Seahawks edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney's helmet drove the starting quarterback's head into the ground. If these 4 games conveyed anything, it is that anything and everything could happen in the divisional round. So with all that being said, let's start it off with the NFL divisional playoffs. And we're going to kick it off with our first game of the evening, which will kick off at around 4:30 or so on Saturday afternoon. And it will feature the number 6 seed Minnesota Vikings squaring off against the number 1 seed San Francisco 49ers. Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, outside of San Francisco, California. This game is on NBC. The Sunday Night Football crew will have this one. This will be their last game of the season. For the last time this season, we'll get to hear Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya. And the spread favors the 49ers. San Francisco opening up as a 7-point favorite. Now, these two teams definitely have some playoff history. They have met quite a few times in the postseason before. And they have met, let me see here. Oh, I just had it. Okay. This will be their 6th postseason meeting. They have met 5 times before in the postseason. And the San Francisco 49ers have a distinct edge in that playoff series. They lead the postseason series by a count of 4-1. Their first, and ironically, every single time they've met, including this weekend, was an NFC divisional playoff. In 1970, San Francisco went into Minnesota and beat the Vikings 17-14. That was in 1970. 1987, they met in another divisional playoff in San Francisco, and this time it was the Minnesota Vikings who came away with a 36-24 win. 1988, they met in the divisional round again. And it was in San Francisco, and the 49ers, easy win, a 34-9 beatdown. Following year, 1989, they met again. San Francisco, all Niners again, 41-13. And their last playoff meeting was in 97, and it was the Niners who also won that game by a count of 38-22. So that's all the history here. So let's get into the Vikings and the 49ers to kick things off here tonight. Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins silenced doubters with his wildcard performance against the Saints. Kirk Cousins in notable games entering the wildcard playoff: 0-1 versus winning teams, 6-30 in road games, 17, 26-2 in overtime games, 0-2-2. Cousins defeated the 13-3 Saints in the 2019 wildcard on the road in overtime. But the 31-year-old Pro Bowler's work is far from done. According to ESPN's Kevin Seifert, Minnesota has dropped 9 of its last 10 trips to San Francisco. Cousins' narrative aside, the Vikings Pro Bowl running back Dalvin Cook will likely be the offense's X factor in the game. The Niners were the top-ranked passing defense and second-ranked total defense in the regular season, but they are the 17th best rushing defense. Cook rushed for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns on the 4th-ranked Saints rushing defense. The Vikings defense played lights out in New Orleans as well, holding Drew Brees to 208 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick on 26 of 33 passing, and kept all-pro receiver Michael Thomas out of the end zone. Initial DVOA matchup comparison: overall, San Francisco number 5, Minnesota number 7. Offense, San Francisco number 5, Minnesota number 10. Defense, San Francisco number 2, Minnesota number 7. This is a heavyweight fight. The 49ers will need D4 to pressure Cousins, and they'll need another good offensive line performance to stymie a capable Vikings pass rush. Minnesota will have its hands full with the Niners' weapons, though, namely all-pro tight end George Kittle. George Kittle finished the season with an overall grade of 95. That is the highest single-season grade in the PFF era. He smashed the record set by Rob Gronkowski, who had the previous record of 92 in 2011. Jimmy Garoppolo is a lesser quarterback when Kittle is taken out of the equation. Seifert named Vikings linebackers Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks as X factors because at different points they'll have similar jobs, defending the 49ers' fleet of non-receiver pass weapons. Seifert continued, Minnesota won't be able to rely on safety Harrison Smith to defend tight end George Kittle and fullback Kyle Juszczyk. At one point or the other, Barr and Kendricks will have to do their part. When Kittle and Juszczyk get a stop on defenders, the 49ers offense is difficult to slow down. In other words, this one should come down to whether Cook or Kittle is able to run free. I have nothing left to say on this except my final score in this. I am going to go with the San Francisco 49ers to continue this magical season, a season where they just came out of nowhere. And I think they will advance into the NFC Championship game, which I believe would be the first one ever held at Levi's Stadium. I don't think Levi's has ever hosted an NFC Championship game, to my knowledge. All those years it was at the old Candlestick or 3Com Park, whatever you want to call it. But nonetheless, I am going with the San Francisco 49ers to win this game. My final score, 21-17. San Francisco barely edges Minnesota. So there's really nothing more to say. Let's bring in good old MF Michael Fletcher now. And MF, what a matchup we have here. Minnesota, they shocked the world. They beat New Orleans. Can they go into San Francisco and pull up another major upset?
You know, Anthony, this is going to be a lot more tougher this time around because of the fact that this time they're playing with a better team. They're playing against the 49ers. The 49ers are a really good team, very powerful, no doubt about it. Do I think that they could do it? Absolutely. They could absolutely pull an upset and win. But at the end of the day, I kind of feel like this is San Francisco's moment. Like you said, I don't think the last time that they've played in San Francisco for the NFC crown, I think you got to go all the way back to, I believe, the year that they got to Super Bowl 29, because I think they won on the road to get to 48 or 47, I should say.
Yeah, they won on on the road. They beat Atlanta in to get to 47. The last time they hosted the NFC Championship game, I believe it was the year they lost to the Giants in that memorable classic in January of 2012, I believe.
Which would have been 46. So,
and I believe that was at Candlestick, I believe.
And that was in Candlestick. Absolutely, you're right, because I think I believe they opened it right around, I want to say, the year of Super Bowl 49. So the season after was the first year. Actually, no. Yeah, 49, right around the beginning of that season that led to Super Bowl 49. That's when they opened it. And then the next year they got Super Bowl 50, if you remember.
That's correct.
So, yeah, no, what they always do is they don't give the stadiums right away. They always go the next year. So that's why I think Vegas is supposed to get a Super Bowl very soon. I know LA's getting the next one. Not this one coming up. This is Miami. Then I think it's the year after is when LA or Inglewood gets their Super Bowl. But we're going off track for a moment there, so let's get back on it. Look, you can say whatever you want to say about Kirk Cousins and everything else. A lot of people were bashing him, saying that, oh, he can't win the big game. You know, he can't win any games at all. This and that, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what, guys? He did. He pulled it off. He went into New Orleans, which is one of the best stadiums in the NFL, one of the hardest places to win, and he won. Now, a lot of people are going to say, but there was some PI, offensive PI, at the end that should have been called a penalty. And granted, I agree. That was offensive PI. There was definitely a push-off, no doubt about it. And this is why I despise Alberto Riveron and his crony known as referees. But I could get on that on another day, on another time. I'm getting off my high horse tonight for that. But I got to go with the 49ers. I love their run attack. I think their run attack is better, and I think they're going to have a really good time with that game. And even though Minnesota's better on rush defense, I think Jimmy G will definitely play decent. He's not going to play great, but he'll play decent enough. What's really going to be is that vaunted defense of the 49ers going up against Kirk Cousins. If Dalvin Cook is ineffective, forget it. It's over. It's a wrap. So I'm going with the 49ers to win the game. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. And the next two games, MF, are from our side, the AFC. So we're going to have some fun. We had a hard decision here. I mean, I'll say it like this. If it had been New England, it would, hands down, that would have been it. But I had a hard time with this one. But when in doubt, always go with the game that, you know, the man is doing. So we'll get into that in just a minute. So, but then again, we easily could have called this one too. But here it is. It's the same thing on the AFC side. 6 versus 1. The number 6 seed, the Tennessee Titans, squaring off against the number 1 overall seed, the best record in the NFL this year, the Baltimore Ravens, M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. Saturday night, 8:15 kickoff on CBS. Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, Evan Washburn, they will have it. And Baltimore opening up as an 8.5-point favorite. And these teams also have postseason history. A lot of it. Well, not as much as the Vikings and the Niners. This will mark their 4th postseason meeting. They met 3 times before. 2 divisionals and a wild card. The first one, AFC wild card. It was the 2000 season. It was in January of 2001. AFC divisional playoff. The Baltimore Ravens went into Nashville, went into Tennessee, and beat Steve McNair and the Titans 24-10. And then in the 2003 season, January of 04, there was the wild card round, and Tennessee got their revenge. They went into Baltimore and beat the Ravens 20-17. And their last meeting, 2008, divisional playoff, Baltimore went into Tennessee and beat the Titans 13-10. So the Ravens lead the postseason series 2-1. So that's pretty much all we have to say on this. So MF, let's get into this one. Baltimore, pretty much the odds-on favorite everywhere, including us. But don't tell that to the Tennessee Titans because, Tennessee, I don't know. All they did was only end a dynasty last Saturday night.
Yeah. And a lot of people may claim that the dynasty died when the Miami Dolphins beat them, but no. The Tennessee Titans, they did what they had to do. They ran the football with Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry had the game of his career. That's why they wanted him so bad. And Ryan Tannehill, granted, had not the best night at all. No doubt about it. Under 70 yards passing. I think it was like 68, 69 yards passing. It was under 100 yards. He threw an interception, which was a horrible INT, by the way. But Tennessee's defense revved up. They played a great game. And, of course, everybody remembers the pick six that pretty much put the nail in the coffin on the New England Patriots as Logan Ryan had a pick six early in the game, dropped it, did not do it when it counted the most. 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter with the Patriots pinned at their 1 yard line, a pick six to win it and basically cemented the win for the Tennessee Titans going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the key factor in this game, guys, is Mark Ingram. He hasn't been practicing all week. There is a concern he might not play, even though they're saying he will go. There is a concern here that if he doesn't go, that might hurt the Ravens a little bit. But you also got a powerful quarterback, no doubt about it in my mind, the most valuable player of the NFL, and Lamar Jackson. Of course, you also got Hollywood Brown. You also got a pretty good tight end crew. And the defense looks like the defense of Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, and that Baltimore Ravens team that went all the way to the Super Bowl and won in Super Bowl 47. So, with that said, I got the Baltimore Ravens to win this game, and this was going to be close. 21-13. I think Baltimore will slam the door on Tennessee, send them packing, and move on to the AFC Championship game. So, Anthony, it's yours.
And should they do it, it would be the first time ever that M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore would be hosting the AFC Championship game. So, let's get into this. The Titans are going to need to transport every bit of magic used in New England to beat Baltimore. Derrick Henry eviscerated the Patriots with 204 total yards from scrimmage, including 182 yards and 1 touchdown on 34 carries. That took pressure off of quarterback Ryan Tannehill, MF's old friend, who only needed to throw the ball 15 times. Derrick Henry became the first player with 200 scrimmage yards against a Belichick-coached Patriots team in a playoff game, set the franchise record for scrimmage yards in a playoff game. And oh, by the way, he did it on his 26th birthday. Happy birthday, young fella. That said, Henry's heroics led to only 14 offensive points for the Titans. That won't cut it against the league's top scoring offense, 33.2 points a game, operated by likely MVP Lamar Jackson. Only one quarterback in NFL history has thrown for 3,000 yards and ran for 1,000 in a single season. One, Lamar Jackson. The year Michael Vick rushed for 1,039, he threw for just 2,474. Lamar has pulled way ahead at 1,206 rushing yards and 3,127 passing yards. Rushes with 10-plus yards before contact, Lamar Jackson, 27. Second was Buffalo's Devin Singletary with 13. Number 3 was Indy's Marlon Mack at 12. And also at 3 was Carolina's Christian McCaffrey with 12 as well. The Ravens ended the regular season with the 5th best rushing defense, which could force Tannehill into a more prominent role than was necessary in New England. And for all the talk about Henry, the league's regular season rushing winner, Baltimore was the NFL's top regular season running team. 5 of the top 6 rushing teams this season have made it to divisional weekend. Baltimore, San Francisco, Tennessee, Seattle. The only one who did not make it, of course, was Dallas, and the other was Minnesota. Tennessee met the Patriots when they looked vulnerable. New England lost 3 of its last 5 regular season games, including a historical upset loss to the Miami Dolphins in Week 17 that sent them into Wild Card Weekend for the first time since 2009. The Titans won't have that advantage versus Baltimore, which has not lost a game since September 29th. That was Week 4 when they got beat down at home by the Cleveland Browns. The 14-2 Ravens are favored to win Super Bowl 54 and haven't shown any reason to doubt them against anyone. Tennessee, huge wild card upset and all, is no exception. I agree with you again, MF. I have the Baltimore Ravens winning this as well. I think they'll win a little more comfortably than you think. I got Baltimore pulling away 38-21. Baltimore beats Tennessee, and the Baltimore Ravens will host the AFC Championship game for the first time in franchise history. And what an atmosphere that'll be on the 19th. That's the Saturday action. Now let's get to the Sunday action. And we started off with the Tony and Mikey special. Ho, 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 ho. This is going to be a fun one. The other AFC divisional playoff game. Special start time. 3:05 kickoff. Yeah, you heard me right. 3:05. Not 1. It's 3. 3:05. And we will feature the number 4 seed, the Houston Texans, squaring off against the number 2 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, Missouri, or as some people call it, Missouri. Hello, friends. Jim Nance, Tony Tracy Wolfson, Jay Feely, they will be there. And Kansas City, opening up as the biggest favorite of the week. They are opening up as 9.5-point favorites, if you can believe that. So, and according to, actually, they do have postseason history. That's right. I just remembered. I thought they did not, but they actually do. They met, I believe they met in a wild card game. Yes. This will be their second postseason meeting. Their previous meeting, 2015, played in January of 2016. It was in Houston, and Kansas City kicked the door down and made themselves at home a 30-0 beatdown of the Texans 4 years ago in the wild card round. So here we are. The Texans topped the Chiefs 31-24 in Week 6 at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas City will have reinforcements when Houston visits this time. Just a reminder that the Chiefs were missing Chris Jones, Eric Fisher, Sammy Watkins, and were easing Tyreek Hill back from injury, half the snaps, when they played the Houston Texans in Week 6. Drastic personnel changes from the last matchup. Reigning MVP Patrick Mahomes was not fully healthy for the Chiefs in Week 6 either, nursing an ankle injury. The 24-year-old quarterback still posted 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. While the Chiefs are overall in much better standing for this matchup, a season-ending torn ACL suffered by rookie safety Juan Thornhill in the regular season finale against the Chargers is worrisome. Added pressure will be placed on all-pro safety Tyrann Mathieu, as well as cornerback Kendall Fuller and backup safety Armani Watts to contain Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson's connection with all-pro receiver DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins recorded 90 yards on 6 receptions against the Bills, but it was Watson who ultimately delivered the dagger to Buffalo. The QB matchup between Mahomes and Watson is the headliner. Houston's defense will have a much tougher task handling the Chiefs' offensive weapons than the Bills' cast. Kansas City features tight end Travis Kelce alongside dynamic receivers Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. Perhaps more significant, though, is how much better the Chiefs' defense has performed since these two squads last met. The Bills effectively distressed Watson, but ultimately lost the game, at least in part because of poor quarterback play from Josh Allen down the stretch. The Texans can't bank on that from Mahomes. Deshaun Watson was sacked 7 times, hit 12 times, and Texans gave up 6 tackles for loss. They still won because Watson is a magician. Buffalo messed the bed. Chiefs quarterback isn't giving the game away like Josh. Mahomes wasn't giving the game away like Josh Allen. Houston better shore up that protection or they are toast on Sunday. All things considered, bank on the Chiefs extending their winning streak to 7 and scheduling a much-anticipated clash with the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. It would be Kansas City's first back-to-back conference title game appearances in franchise history. The Chiefs are 2-0 against the Ravens dating back to last season. Both regular season games, most recently defeating Baltimore 33-28 at home in Week 3. That being said, I have Kansas City winning this game, getting their payback from the regular season game. My final score, 34-24, Kansas City over Houston. Should be a fun one. I think it'll be close going into the fourth, but I think Kansas City will put it away with a late score. So 34-24, Kansas City knocks off Houston and sets up what would be one hell of an AFC title game if we get to it. So nothing more to say. MF, come on in. The Phil Simms to my Jim Nance. Do that thing I like. Hello, friends.
Well, I'm not really in the best condition as you can sound, so I won't be too much of a Phil Simms in this, but I'm going to go with Kansas City to win the game. And you're absolutely right, Anthony. With the way that the team has been this season and the way that everything has gone down up to this point, I just can't see how Kansas City does not win this game. So I really got nothing more to say. I got Kansas City winning. And with that, well, let's just move on with the next game. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yes, indeed. And it is the final divisional playoff game of the weekend, the main event of it, if you will. And oh boy, what a matchup we have here. We have the number 5 seed, the Seattle Seahawks, squaring off against the number 2 seed, the Green Bay Packers, from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. On Fox, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, Chris Myers, they will have it. I don't quite have a spread for this one. I don't know why it's on. It's not on my list here. It should be, but I'll try to get that. Green Bay 4.5. Green Bay is a 4.5 point favorite in this game, and again, the theme of this show: postseason history. These teams have very significant postseason history. This will be their 4th playoff meeting and 3rd at Lambeau Field. First one, 2003, played in January of 2004. The infamous Matt Hasselbeck, we want the ball and we're going to score. Yeah, how'd that work out for you, big boy? Green Bay won that one 33-27 in overtime on a pick 6. 2007, played in January of 2008 on a snowy Lambeau. Green Bay had no trouble with Seattle that game, 42-20. Their last meeting, 2014, played in January of 2015. One of the greatest NFC Championship games of all time. Seattle with an epic comeback, going to OT and beating the Packers. 28-22 at CenturyLink Field. In one of the great NFC title games. So 2-1 in favor of Green Bay. So here we go, MF. Seattle and Green Bay, the frozen tundra of Lambeau. And from what I heard, it's going to be frozen.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be an interesting game, no doubt about it. I gotta go with Green Bay to win this game as well. I just feel like they're just gonna be a better team. Even though I know a lot of people are a little concerned about the way that Green Bay's been playing, especially Aaron Rodgers. Some people even feel like that they kind of backed their way into the number 2 seed. That as a matter of fact, the way that they've been playing all year, that they actually should not be the number 2 seed. And some people have gone as far to call them frauds. Now I know that's a little bit of a harsh assessment for Green Bay, but you know, I do get why a lot of people are a little hesitant about Green Bay, saying that they're lucky to be the number 2 seed because technically they should have been on wild card weekend. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm going to go with Green Bay to win. I think they'll get the job done, even though Seattle is a formidable team. They're dangerous, guys. No doubt about it. So this is a game that you want to keep a very close eye on. If it gets tight at the end, I could see Seattle steal this and win. So I'm going to go with Green Bay to win. But again, like I said, I would not be stunned if Seattle goes into Green Bay and wins this game. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours. Green Bay wins and advances to the NFC Championship game.
Okay. Like I said, it's going to be frozen. I've looked at the weather report, and oh my! Now I know I'm not Derek Ferrera. I mean, Derek Ferrera, of course, is a genius when it comes to weather, but there's supposed to be some sort of significant snowfall on Saturday. It's supposed to be around 1 inch in the afternoon, and then during the evening, they're supposed to get like 3 to 5 come Saturday night. Sunday, sun in the morning, increasing clouds will be around 22. When it comes to Sunday night, snow flurries and snow showers, but I think they said it's supposed to be during the overnight hours. So we're probably looking at right around teens or so, right around the start of the game, with a 40% chance of snow. So it's going to be the frozen tundra once again. So, all right. Seattle's last postseason trip to Green Bay, their last postseason meeting with Green Bay resulted in a comeback 28-22 overtime victory in the 2014-15 NFC Championship game, ending with Russell Wilson finding Doug Baldwin for 35 yards before hitting Jermaine Kearse for the 35-yard game-winning touchdown pass. Wilson has gotten better and better since then, while Packers All-Pro quarterback Aaron Rodgers seems to have slightly regressed. The veteran struggled in Green Bay's regular season finale with 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick on 27 of 55 passing. He had 16 overthrows for incompletions in Week 17. Not only was that a career high, it's tied for the most by a quarterback since ESPN began tracking them in 2006. Josh Freeman also had 16 in his lone start with the Vikings in 2013. He set a new career high for incompletions in a game with 28. Previous high was 26. He can still play at an insanely high level and make throws and plays few else can. The consistency of greatness is fading. He is capable of immortal moments, but he is no longer consistently immortal. However, the Packers have historically brought out the worst in Wilson. It'll be the Seahawks coming to Lambeau Field next Sunday. Russell Wilson's 81.9 career passer rating against the Packers is his lowest against any NFL opponent. And that's before he has had to face the Packers with defensive ends Preston Smith and Za'Darius Smith in his face. The Packers' offense has evolved beyond Rodgers, though, with running back Aaron Jones. The rushing game figures to be an advantage for Green Bay, given the Seahawks are depending on 33-year-old Marshawn Lynch and 6th-round rookie Travis Homer. Seattle was held to 64 rushing yards against the Eagles, and Wilson was responsible for 45 of them. Jones tied for the league lead in broken tackles with 32 in the regular season and became the first Packer back to eclipse 1,000 rushing yards since Eddie Lacy in 2014. The 25-year-old 2017 fifth-round pick is primed to take advantage of the Seahawks' 22nd-ranked rushing defense. If he can do that, first-year head coach Matt LaFleur will be able to stretch the offense for Rodgers and receiver Davante Adams. But will that be enough to propel the Packers beyond Seattle? Not so fast. The Seahawks' 17-9 defeat of an extremely injury-hobbled Eagles squad is hardly a reliable gauge. But Wilson's connection with rookie second-round receiver DK Metcalf should put Green Bay on alert. DK Metcalf's, if Wilson is rolling with Metcalf and number 1 receiver Tyler Lockett, the Seahawks won't need much from Lynch or Homer. Perhaps it's the upset-happy wildcard round speaking, but this could be Seattle's game to lose. But with this being in Green Bay and with the history of the cold and the whole 9 yards, out of all the games, this was the toughest one for me to call. The gut's telling me to go with Green Bay. My heart's telling me to go with Seattle because of how great they were on the road, 7-1. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with MF and I'm going to go with Green Bay. But I would not be surprised if Seattle stole one at Lambeau. So I'm going with Green Bay. It's not a confident pick, but I'm going with Green Bay anyway. 20-17. Green Bay over Seattle. And now the main event of the evening, the college football playoff national championship game. Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. The number 3 and reigning, defending, undisputed college football playoff national champion Clemson Tigers squaring off against the number 1 team in all the land, the LSU Tigers. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor, Tom Rinaldi, they will all be there. LSU opening up as a 5.5-point favorite. Now, I promised you all a tale of the tape for this national championship game, and I am not gonna let you all down. I do have it. I just need to set it up on the screen share here, and you'll see all the necessary numbers here for this, and here we go. Just want to get this set up, and okay, here we go. Yeah, that's the one. No, that's not where I wanted. Hit the wrong button. Okay. I do apologize for that. Now I got to pop up video.
With GoDaddy, you can build your own.
Okay. I do apologize for the technical glitch there, so let's try this again. Come on. And there's your tail of the tape right there. Both teams 14-0, 8-0 in their respective conferences. LSU number 1, Clemson number 3. Offense, we give the edge to LSU slightly, averaging just north of 49 points a game. Clemson at 45. Defense, we definitely give the edge to Clemson there, allowing only 11.5, whereas LSU allowed just north of 27. Yards a game, that's LSU, 564.1 to 538.4 for Clemson. You see all the numbers. They speak for themselves. Joe Burrow winning the Heisman Trophy, and it's those numbers alone that got it for him. 5,208 yards to 55 TDs to 6 picks. Lawrence's numbers, no slouch either. Running game, we got to give the edge to Clemson there because of ETN. Receiving core, we got to give it to LSU, although Higgins was great. So there's your tail of the tape. Get it all in your, absorb it for just a little bit because I'm going to drop it in just a minute. So on the left is LSU's numbers. On the right is Clemson's numbers. So there's your tail of the tape right there. So hope you all enjoyed it. Now let's get down to the business here. Number 1 LSU meets number 3 Clemson in the college football playoff championship game on Monday night at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. Clemson advanced to the championship game through an oft-criticized ACC schedule, though the Tigers did score a thrilling 29-23 victory against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl semifinal. Trevor Lawrence led the game-winning drive and has the chance to lead a second national championship run with Coach Dabo Swinney. Clemson currently on a 29-game winning streak. LSU will be close to home for this title game, part of a season where the program has been revitalized with a new-look offense that led to a Heisman Trophy for Joe Burrow. Coach Ed Orgeron has guided LSU through a tough schedule, including wins over 6 top 10 teams, and this is the last piece. fourth meeting between these two sets of Tigers, and likely will be the highest scoring game between the teams. LSU won the 1959 Sugar Bowl 7-0 and 1996 Peach Bowl 10-7, but lost the last meeting 25-24 in the 2012 Chick-fil-A Bowl. Just the second time Clemson has been an underdog the last 2 years. The last time that happened, Clemson beat Alabama handily 44-16 in last year's championship game. Clemson is 8-2 against the spread and 6-4 straight up as an underdog since the playoffs started in 2014. Clemson is 12-2 straight up and 12-2 against the spread on neutral sites since 2014. LSU is 8-3 straight up and 8-3 against the spread in the same situation. LSU 9-5 against the spread this year, but it covered in all 3 games that had a single-digit spread. Those were victories against Texas 6.5, Alabama +5, and Georgia 7. Now the 3 things we need to watch. 1, can Clemson slow Joe Burrow? Burrow didn't shy away from the playoff spotlight against Oklahoma. He set several records, college football playoff records, with 493 passing yards and 8 total touchdowns. Will that continue against the top pass defense in the FBS? The schematic matchup between LSU offensive coordinator Steve Ensminger and passing game coordinator Joe Brady and Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables will be fascinating. But it comes down to whether Clemson's pressure lands on Burrow, who took 29 sacks this year. The second part of that is whether Burrow escapes the pressure. This is going to be fun to watch. Number 2, who takes momentum before halftime? Expect the first quarter to play out tight, but both teams are at their best in the second quarter. LSU outscored opponents 228-81, and Clemson outscored opponents 211-38. This could be where the momentum swings to one side and the other team will have to play catch-up in the second half. Lawrence rallied Clemson from a 16-0 deficit against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl, and that started in the second quarter. LSU, meanwhile, buried Oklahoma with a 28-point second quarter. And number 3, will Trevor Lawrence finally lose? Lawrence is 25-0 as a starter, and he had an up-and-down game passing against Ohio State before a 94-yard drive for the go-ahead touchdown. Lawrence beat the Buckeyes with 16 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown. Another added dimension to this game, Lawrence will test an LSU defense that ranked 56th in the FBS, but also features All-Americans Grant Delpit and Derek Stingley Jr. in his secondary. Justin Ross and T. Higgins combined for 80 receiving yards against the Buckeyes. They will need to get more against LSU. The stat that matters, Clemson is 17-0 when Travis Etienne has 100 or more yards rushing. But it was his playmaking ability in the passing game that made the difference against Ohio State. He had 3 touchdowns in last year's romp against Alabama, and the Louisiana native will look for another big game. LSU, meanwhile, is 8-0 when Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushes for 100 yards or more. He had an extra week to rest a hamstring injury that limited him in the victory against Oklahoma. Which run defense can prevent the big play? And the prediction? This should be a 5-star Shakespearean drama classic, and neither Burrow nor Lawrence will disappoint. LSU will grab that momentum in the second quarter behind 2 touchdown passes from Burrow, who will evenly distribute the ball to his talented receivers. Clemson will rally in the third quarter behind big plays from Lawrence and Etienne, but Burrow, like he did against Alabama, will close the door with a pair of touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. LSU hangs on and becomes the 4th different school to win a college football playoff national championship. Yes, I'm going with LSU to win the national championship. 38-31, LSU wins the national championship in their own backyard of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, and Joe Burrow will do it all again. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. 38-31, LSU becomes your new college football playoff national champions. MF, the Kirk Herbstreit to my Chris Fowler. How do you follow that?
Well, the way I see it, it goes like this. I agree LSU wins, but I disagree with your final score. I got it even higher than that. 45-41, LSU wins the national championship. I kind of feel like LSU is the complete team. I think, look, give credit where credit's due to Clemson for coming back and fighting as they did, but I just feel like LSU is the complete team. And we saw the domination when they absolutely throttled Oklahoma and destroyed them. And it wasn't even close, Anthony. This is going to be a tit for tat. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think both teams are going to get a lot of scoring out of it, but I'm with you on this one. I got LSU winning the national championship, and there's really nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right, and MF, keep your mic on real quick. And I know you want to get out of here because I know you're a little under the weather here. But first off, appreciate the effort, and before you go, kindly set the table for Cerebral Smack Talk. I know it's a big show, including a highly anticipated recap.
Yeah, tomorrow night, as always, 10:30 Eastern. We started with SmackDown Live, and then we're going to do the 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom and the New Year's Dash. And we're also going to set up for what's undoubtedly going to be the next thing for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and that is the New Beginnings. There's 3 parts. There's going to be one in the USA. There's going to be one in Sequoia, which is in Japan, and then there's one in and they're both in Japan. So we'll get through all that. They said that they were going to announce matches in the next few days. Hopefully we do get it, but if we don't, then I guess we'll have to wait until next week. But whatever the case may be, it's going to be a big event. New Japan Pro Wrestling coming to the United States again for 5 nights, 5 shows, and it's all going to be exclusive on NJPW World. So if you got New Japan Pro Wrestling's streaming service, you'll be able to watch all those shows live. It's about 999 yen. If you're wondering, in the equivalent of the United States, $9. That's all you're going to pay. $9 a month for New Japan Pro Wrestling World and to see New Beginnings USA. So nothing more to say. 10:30 tomorrow night. Anthony, take it home.
All right, and I can't wait to hear about Wrestle Kingdom. I heard a lot of history was made, especially.
Oh yeah, a lot of history.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. All right, so you heard MF. That's tomorrow night at 10:30. His channel, Brace Fan 95. We will have Friday night SmackDown, the recap of that. Sasha Banks and Lacey Evans will square off, and then we will get into that big Wrestle Kingdom recap and all that New Japan stuff that MF has in his Mikey's Mindset. So that'll be tomorrow night. And then Monday night, Ridiculously Raw, following Monday Night Raw. We'll review Monday Night Raw. Big Tony's Take. I'm going to have 205 Live. I'm going to have Impact Wrestling. And, of course, the Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view. We'll find out if Tessa Blanchard makes the history. And then Wednesday Night Mayhem with NXT and AEW Dynamite as always. And then next Thursday on this program, we're back to our regular Strictly Sports show. We're going to have a lot of NFL coaching carousel news. We'll preview the AFC and NFC championship games, and maybe we'll have our first power rankings. So for NHL or something like that. So that'll be next week, and then we'll go from there. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF, over on Brace Fan 95 with Anthony Florio here. You know the routine as always. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, Total Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF, you've been watching Strictly Sports Football Thursday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.